You distribute that power thing. This one you distributed already. The ground material distributed. This also we have given.
Good afternoon, friends. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the Honorable Minister of Power and Corporate Affairs, Dr. M. Veerappa Moily, the Honorable Minister of State for Power, Shri K.C. Venugopal, Secretary Power, Shri P. Uma Shankar, and Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Shri Navid Masood, and other senior officers of both the ministries for the Economic Editors Conference 2012. The Press Information Bureau organizes this conference once a year to provide a platform for interaction between the media and the policymakers in the economic sector. In particular, this conference is focused on the regional media. And sir, this year we have about 35 senior writers and journalists from all over the country who are participating in the conference, apart from the local media. The conference was inaugurated yesterday by the Honorable Finance Minister, followed by sessions addressed by the Minister of Communications and IT, the Minister of Railways, Road Transport and Highways. This morning we had two sessions addressed by the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Civil Aviation. We will be ending the conference today with a session addressed by the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas. We hope that these sessions will provide the overview and the background of the economic decisions taken by the government. As the Honorable Minister is handling two very important ministries, we will begin with a focus on the Ministry of Power. Honorable Minister will make his opening comments, after which we will have an interaction. And after that, we will take up the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. I would request you to ensure that your cell phones are switched off or are in the silent mode before we begin. Thank you very much. I now invite the Honorable Minister to make his opening remarks.
Friends, good afternoon. I am quite excited, both myself and also Mr. Venugopal, Minister of State for Power, and our both secretaries, Mr. Navid Masood, Secretary Corporate Affairs, and also Mr. Uma Shankar, Secretary Power, along with all our, the officers, to interact with you. I thought that this is a mandatory press conference, or is it like that, or voluntary?
Annual.
We are mandated by our, Mrs. Neelam Kapoor, the Secretary PIB, or Director General PIB, to interact with you. I think last year also you have scheduled, but I don't think I could turn up or something, or
Perhaps you missed us.
I missed you. And that means to say that this is my rather maiden press conference with particularly the economic editors, and more particularly with the regional newspaper editor. That will add up a lot of color to it, and it's always a pleasure, because hailing from one of the region, namely Karnataka, or my friend from Kerala, we are not that we are not unfamiliar with the national press, but we are more homely, at home with the regional press, because we always speak that kind of a regional language with the kind of a regional ethos, which can be responded to by all of us. Anyway, I welcome on my behalf and also on behalf of Honorable Minister for State, Sri Venugopal, and also other secretaries and our able officers to interact with you. We thought just between us, and of course if you all agree, I think we'll first take up the power, and thereafter questions thereon. Thereafter, I think our officers on power can go, and we'll definitely concentrate on corporate affairs. I think if this arrangement is all right, we will go ahead with that. Is it okay for everyone? Yes. Okay, that will be much better, so that we will neatly deal with the power. Thereafter, we will switch on to corporate affairs. Friends, I am very happy to share with you some important achievements in the year gone, by which was also the final year of the 11th five-year plan. We were able to add 54,964 megawatt of generation of power in the country, which was not only 2.5 times the capacity added in the 10th plan, but also close to the total capacity added in the last three earlier plans together. In fact, that year we added capacity, last year, that is the terminal year of the 11th five-year plan, we added capacity of 20,502 megawatt, which was almost equal to the total capacity added in the entire 10th plan. That means 21,180 megawatt. That's why, we were inspired or, encouraged for a higher benchmark and target to add 88,537 megawatt of capacity in the next 5 years of the 12th five-year plan, which is 54% more than the 11th plan achievement. Besides increased capacity addition, there has been emphasis on fuel-efficient thermal plants through creation of supercritical capacities of 660 megawatt and above. Accordingly, it is envisaged to add up to 40% of the thermal capacity through fuel efficiency supercritical plants. 12th target would comprise 66,230 megawatt of coal-based capacity, as well as 9,897 megawatt of hydro capacity, besides some gas and lignite-based power stations. This is in addition to 5,300 megawatt of nuclear capacity proposed for the 12th plan. As regards achievement of the target, besides rigorous monitoring of ongoing capacity addition projects, of which 90,000 megawatt power are under construction, the Ministry has guided the augmentation of domestic manufacturing capacity of power equipments to enable higher capacity addition. That was a real problem earlier, but now even the capacity, to that extent, I am very happy to say that capacity addition, apart from BHL, other private sector like Larsen Toubro and many others have also joined in queue, and that means we are nearing to the self-reliance insofar as the power construction of and power equipments. We are also working closely with the state governments for resolving matters related to land availability and with the Environment Ministry for the forest clearance related issues, particularly with respect to the hydro sector. During my recent visit to a number of states like Maharashtra, the Rajasthan, and of course I had planned to go last week to Kerala, which I could not do it. And I had made it a habit, particularly to visit particular state from morning till evening, and if necessary, even till late night, to have a thorough review of situation, so that our chief ministers or the ministers or the officers need not again and again come back to Delhi and discuss the things. And once for all, we would like to see that all these problems are heard, responded, and many a time it is being finalized. As far as the fuel issues are concerned, as regards fuel issues, coal is very important factor. CIL has been given the target of supplying up to 477 metric ton of coal in the terminal year of 2016-17. We are working closely with the Ministry of Coal to resolve probable gaps in supply. As it is, 2012-13, the supply has shown improvement in the last 4 months, with the CIL supplying up to 96% of the targeted quantity in the period April to August 2012, as compared to 89% in the same period last year. With the diligence and proper planning, we should be able to get over the coal supply gaps. So this is a news for you, because the report always many a time is that it's not available, insufficient, inadequate, and we are not in a position to achieve the target. As on today, which is not true. Transmission sector is concerned, a record addition of 13,700 megawatt of inter-regional transmission line carrying capacity has been achieved along with the laying down of 70,286 circuit kilometers of transmission lines. This is 1.5 times more than the achievement for the 10th plan. The 11th plan has also saw India achieve successful testing of the world's highest voltage test station of 1,200 kilovolts. As in the case of capacity addition, here also we are setting higher benchmarks by targeting addition of nearly 1.1 lakh circuit kilometers of transmission line in the 12th plan, so that the transmission line length available in the country would be about 3.68 lakh circuit kilometers by 2016-17. Here also we are working closely with the state governments to resolve issues of right-of-way and land availability matters. We are also coordinating with the Environmental Ministry for expediting forest clearances. Further, as regards transformation capacity, about 1.5 lakh MEA was added in the 11th plan. We propose to add nearly 2.7 lakh MEA in the 12th plan. Thus, with 3.68 lakh CKM of transmission lines and over 6.6 lakh MEA of substation capacity, in the country, we hope to have the requisite capacity to transmit comfortably the power generated, both existing and additional added in the 12th five-year plan. You all know that, this is very important. Merely adding capacity is not enough unless it is transmitted properly. We are very fortunate to have, maybe the world's second, the largest, the grid transmission line. It's working very well. And of course, I will come back to that grid crisis. And I must also tell you that, by December 2013, we will be, integrating the southern grid into the national grid. This is a very happy news, I would like to say. So as on today, there are 2 frequencies working. After 1st January 2014, there will be 1 frequency. That will make our whole system perfect and working. I would also like to emphatically state the following. The recent grid disturbances, we are taking a number of steps towards securing safe and sustained operation of the grid. A number of steps have already been taken towards this. For example, tighter frequency control band of 49.7 Hz to 50.2 Hz, filing of petition in the CRC for review of frequency control through UI mechanism. Work on other steps like third parties audit of protection systems, proper functioning of PMUs, etc. has been taken up, including putting in place islanding mechanism for important cities like Delhi. I think within 2 or 3 days of the grid crisis, I think I have gone on record saying that this will not be repeated. That is on very, very concrete ground. You all know that immediately the grid crisis happened, within, I think, 5 or 6 days, I convened the meeting of all the chief ministers of the northern states, and 13-point resolutions was drawn, and in fact, to be very frank with you, that all those 13-point resolutions is under implementation. And everyone is cooperating with us. I don't think, one will effort to have another crisis of the kind which happened on 30th and 31st of July. So that's why, we are strengthening that system, because ultimately it will evolve itself into some sort of we also consider, grid security as a national security matter. This is how the things are evolving, and I'm very happy that each of the state chief ministers and, the whole system is working on those lines, and this is a good evolution which is taking place in the country. The share of private investment in power sector has increased from 15% during the 10th plan to about 43% in the 11th plan. However, this is largely confined to generation projects. We are working now to encourage private sector investment in interstate as well as intrastate transmission systems. Through mechanism of open competitive bidding with long-term concessions, this will accelerate the flow of private investment in transmission. while reducing costs and improving efficiency. Progress has been by and all very good. I think there will be an investment of 13,000 crores, private investment, particularly on these intra and also interstate transmission lines. Under the National Flagship Program of Electrification, RGVVI, Rajiv Gandhi, Vidyutikarana Yojana, we have surpassed the Bharat Nirman target of electrification of 1 lakh villages and providing free electricity connection to 1.75 crore BPL households. By the end of the 11th plan, 1.04 lakh unelectrified villages had been electrified, 1.95 crore BPL households provided free electricity connections. By 15/9/2012, 1,05,714 unelectrified villages have been provided electric infrastructure and 2.01 crore BPL households given free connections. This is besides achieving the intensive electrification of over 2.69 lakh partially electrified villages. Government has proposed to continue the RGVI program in the 12th plan in order to complete the spillover work started in the 11th plan, to cover the remaining villages and BPL households under the ongoing program and to extend it to cover the remaining habitations irrespective of the population of the villages. For achieving this ambitious goal, my ministry has asked for an allocation of rupees 49,730 crore for the 12th plan. The planning, we have already approached the Planning Commission and Planning Commission has agreed it in principle. And this is an ambitious and aspirational program of Prime Minister, and I think we hope to achieve this big goal and a big agenda, national agenda. Adequate supply of electricity to rural area continues to be a priority of the government. Restructured APDRP. The IAPDRP is an important initiative of Government of India in encouraging and supporting the states to deal with the problem of outdated infrastructure, leading to high levels of AT&T losses in the urban areas. The scheme was launched in 2008 with an outlay of rupees 51,577 crore. So far, we have sanctioned about 32,000 crore for projects under 3 components of the scheme. This will benefit 1,402 towns by giving them IT-based billing and collection systems, modernize their distribution infrastructure, enable them to establish a state-of-art distribution control system. Government of India also approved other day, the Cabinet had approved a financial restructuring scheme to deal with the problem of increasing losses of many DISCOMs that was leading to their impending unviability. I am hopeful that the states will take advantage of the scheme to resolve the viability of the DISCOMs and ensure that operate. I think the scheme has been it's under the notification now. We have sent the scheme all the state governments. Besides this, a National Electricity Fund has also been launched to facilitate interest subsidy on loans both for the private and the public sector DISCOMs for distribution network strengthening in areas not under RGGV or RAPDRP. Apart from this, foreign investment, both FI and FDI, has been permitted in power exchanges up to 49% to facilitate the power trading. Let me conclude by saying that the government is taking steps to effectively deal with the challenges in the power sector, both in the power generation and also the distribution system. While further accelerating the pace of capacity addition in generation, our priority is to resolve the issues pertaining to availability of fuel supply. Further, Ministry of Power is taking all steps to ensure that a competitive structure is created which aims at maximizing consumer interest while seeking to balance risk allocation among shareholders. Above all, government's endeavor is to ensure that the poorest of the poor living in the remote corners of the country can access electricity. As you all know that the power growth, and also the GDP is always intertwined together. It is the proportion is 1:1.5. If you want to achieve 9% GDP growth, we need to have 1%, power growth. This is inevitable to happen, and we are in that direction. That is why I always say that our fundamentals are strong. That means to say our the achievement both in the 11th plan and also intended target both in the 12th plan is intended to achieve minimum 8% power growth, which will ultimately end up with the 9% growth in GDP. This is the kind of a dimension of problem which is in the growth sector of the country, both in the power sector and also in the GDP. Now you can ask questions.
Thank you, sir. I will first invite questions from our outstation delegates. Yes, please.
My name is Sushil Chaudhary.
1 minute. We have already circulated one printed document. Must be with you. No, that.
It's all lying at the back. You can collect it.
Someone can hand it over to them also.
It's in the kit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Sir, my name is Sushil Chaudhary, Dainik Ganadu, Tripura. We have got two thermal power projects. One is Monarchak and another is Palatana. And Monarchak was supposed to start generation last month. What is the reason of the delay? Second thing, how much quantity power will be given to the neighboring Bangladesh? And whether any other states has demanded their place to purchase power from Monarchak and Palatana.
Monarchak was not expected to start generation last month. Monarchak was approved by the CCA in 2011, and the program is that they will start the commissioning of the units in 2013. That is one thing. Secondly, as far as Bangladesh is concerned, the arrangement between India and Bangladesh are quite different from what Tripura and Bangladesh may want. So 250 megawatts of power is likely to be given by India to Bangladesh, which is from the western side of Bangladesh. So at present there is no thought of giving any power from Tripura as such. And Palatana should get commissioned probably in the next 15 days or so. It's very close to commissioning. All these are central stations where allocations of power already been decided, and the allocation will be as per the decision taken by the Government of India.
Sir, I am Ramesh Sharma from Bhopal. My question is this: in Ministry of Power, just because of lack of sanction from the coal bricks, so how can, when can we expect the thermal power to be approved from the Ministry of Power as well as from the Coal Ministry? And second question is the hydropower potential of the country is in terms of installed capacity is 1,48,700 megawatt. Out of that, only 39,300 megawatt have been so far developed. Looking into the shortage of coal and gas, why government is not emphasizing more on hydropower power project generation?
About REVA as such, I will not be able to give you any specific information. What we have done is we have received requests for coal linkages for different projects, which have been sent to the Ministry of Coal with our recommendations. I do not know at this stage whether REVA forms part of it or not. I will be able to give that information to you separately. It is, we have also been pressing on the Ministry of Coal to hold the SLC-LT meetings so that they can decide upon coal linkages for the later part of the 12th plan and the 13th plan. As soon as they do that, we will get an idea as to when this coal linkage will take place. And of course, the first question is whether REVA is included in the list that we have sent or not. As far as hydropower is concerned, definitely the Government of India is also pressing for increasing the exploitation of hydro potential. As you know, there are a lot of difficulties in development of hydro, apart from the time it takes for getting these projects off the ground. You also have to now do a number of studies, environmental studies, cumulative impact assessment studies, and studies about wildlife and so on. All these are taking time, but again we are working with the Ministry of Environment and Forest to see that some of these projects could be fast-tracked and the clearances could be obtained early.
So I am from Manipur. Manipur has not seen addition of a single unit
since the commissioning of a national project way back in late 70s, but the demand is increasing, so we get only 6 hours power supply in 24 hours. This happens despite Manipur having rich power hydro potential. We want more and more micro hydro projects to be taken up, but the fund staff Manipur government cannot do anything to take up all these projects. We want you to suggest what should we do.
Only suggest create more and more funds so we can finance these projects. You see, micro projects are not dealt with by our ministry, so I cannot really say anything about these. It is not necessary that the state has to undertake and set up these projects. These projects can also come in the private sector. Now it is open to all sectors. Private sector individuals can also set up projects. So I would presume that if the state has difficulties of financing these projects, they should look at a system of giving it to private entrepreneurs through a transparent bidding process.
But we don't want private sector to come because all tariffs will be very high. It happened in Delhi. Kejriwal has protested against the...
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. When you go through a bidding process, you will discover the best available tariff in the market. And so you need not necessarily conclude that if you go for bidding or if the private sector is going to be there, the tariff is going to be high. We also have examples of tariff-based bidding which have discovered extremely competitive prices. So I don't think that should be one should pre-judge the situation and decide that if I go for bidding and if there's going to be private entrepreneur in it, the cost will necessarily be high. That is not really true.
One thing is very clear that, there is no such thing that, the private sector, public sector, fixing different tariffs, it can't be done. Now there is we have even issued the revised competitive bidding process, and, as a result, any power, which has to go into the grid, either within the state or outside, it has to go through that competitive bidding process, and nobody can walk away with any profit.
Sir, I'm from Jammu and Kashmir. So as you know that in Jammu and Kashmir there are a lot of power projects that are being run by NHPC. But it is also a fact that the legal authority to run all these power projects is already expired in 1987. As the state government claims that the authority to run all the power projects by the NHPC has expired in 87 already. And now they are demanding back all the power projects from NHPC. Will it be returned back to the state government? And the second thing is that despite having a lot of power projects in the state, the valley frequently faces power outages during the winter season.
The question of returning these projects has already been settled with the state government. This is a settled issue. This will not be reopened. We've already settled this. And even the fact that you mentioned about in 87 some authorities expiring, we've also gone through all that. I do not think that is the situation. NHPC is legally, statutorily well-placed to execute projects, implement projects, manage projects. There are no issues. And it has been settled with the state government that there will be no return of projects.
कमल किशोर औरंगाबाद बिहार से। बिहार सभी मामले में करीब तरक्की कर रहा है, लेकिन बिजली के मामले में काफी पीछे है। बिहार को केंद्रीय कोटा से कुल कितनी बिजली दी जा रही है और बिहार की कुल आवश्यकता कितनी है? क्या बिहार को राज्य में स्थापित थर्मल पावर परियोजना से आवश्यकता अनुसार बिजली मिल रही है? क्या बिहार के लिए बिहार का आवंटन बढ़ाने का केंद्र के पास प्रस्ताव या राज्य की ओर से कोई मांग है?
सेंट्रल जनरेटिंग स्टेशन से किसी स्टेट को कितना दिया जाएगा ये गाडगिल फार्मूला के हिसाब से बनता है। तो उस हिसाब से बिहार का जो बनेगा प्रोपोर्शन उस हिसाब से बिहार को दिया जा रहा है। समस्या ये नहीं है कि सेंट्रल जनरेटिंग स्टेशन से बिहार को कम मिल रहा है या ज़्यादा मिल रहा है। समस्या ये है कि पिछले 15 साल में बिहार में कोई प्रोजेक्ट कमीशन नहीं हुआ है, तो इसकी ओर ध्यान देने की ज़रूरत है। अभी कुछ ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, सेंट्रल प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं जिनका कमीशनिंग अगले कुछ सालों में होगा, उससे बिहार की सिचुएशन में बहुत फर्क पड़ेगा। कम से कम 1500 मेगावाट अगले कुछ सालों में जो प्रोजेक्ट कमीशन होंगे उससे बिहार को एलोकेशन होगा।
Sir, Vishwanathan from Chennai, sir. You know, Tamil Nadu has been reeling under very severe power shortage, with all cities outside Chennai metro suffering 10 hours of power cut every day. We have a severe shortage arising out of lack of attention to power capacity building for 3 continuous plants. Much relief is not also now being available from the central stations because they also have been slipping behind, both Neyveli and Tuticorin. Those projects have also been, and Kodangulam, as you know, is in serious blockade. What is immediately the solution, sir? One more part to this. The minister has kindly said about the performance of the 11th plan. He conveniently, I think, forgot the fact that still there is a shortfall of about 23,000 megawatt in the target set and what was achieved. And that is probably the problem for this. And another major problem relates to the promise on ultra mega power projects. Mr. Umashankar said these commitments are sacred. All these commitments have been thrown to the wind. You said international competitive bidding. Reliance agreed to supply for something like ₹1.70. Tata's agreed. They are keeping the capacities idle. And there is tremendous shortage of coal and gas for reaching any target. What is the immediate outlook, sir?
Let me just pick up that last part of the question. Reliance part. This is the Sasan project probably you're referring to. The
all the 3, they are idle.
The Reliance Power Sasan project will be commissioned as per their schedule that they have given. Probably by the beginning of next year, one of the units will be commissioned. Krishnapatnam, I would not like to comment at this stage because it is in sub judice. The matter is in the court. In Tamil Nadu, Vallur will start generating soon. It has already been commissioned in the sense there have been some difficulties with the coal handling plant, which is being sorted out, and this will also quickly start generating. You are quite aware of Kodamkulam. I don't have to say anything more about Kodamkulam. Once that starts, it will give you a big relief. There have been projects also of the state. Several projects in Tamil Nadu are joint venture projects. The state is also 50% owner. So any fast pacing of the implementation would be as much the state's responsibility as the centre's responsibility. As far as the target is concerned, you talked about 23,000 megawatts being forgotten. No. 78,000 megawatts was the target that was initially envisaged when the plan was about to begin. All of us definitely keep targets which are much higher. It was an aspirational target. And then by the middle of the plan, we had a reassessment of what is likely to happen. And we had kept 62,000. 62,000 also included certain nuclear capacities. These did not come. Against that, 55,000, I think, is one of the best performances ever.
Approximately 2,570 megawatt from share of the new central sector projects to be commissioned in the southern region in the 12th plan. So 12th plan, we have a very big plan, you know, so that...
Sir, the 5 years away, sir, tell me about today and tomorrow.
So 12th plan has started already.
Already.
The end is 5 years away.
End is 5 years. And you should know that, you know, the Kodamkulam is concerned, you know, that is likely to be first phase, is likely to be commissioned any day.
Narayan Swamy has been promising it for the past 6 months. Every day he is going to be commissioned.
And let us live on hopes.
You also have to probably tell the people that it's in their interest.
You know, because, you know, this is going to happen, but particularly, you know, after the southern grid is, you know, linked up, integrated into the entire national grid, many of these problems could be resolved.
5 years, sir.
No.
The minister mentioned that 1st of January 2014.
First of 2014, it is going to happen.
Sir, what is the extent of shortage because of coal and gas shortage?
As is mentioned,
Idle capacity now.
You see, idle can be very difficult to judge that. I don't immediately have the figures. Like what was mentioned, it's also in the note, is that against the targeted supply of coal, about 96% was supplied. To that extent, there was a shortage. So you can, we have estimates of how many billion units have been lost because of lack of coal, which I'll give it to you separately. I don't have it immediately. Definitely, if coal supply has improved, if it had been far better than what it is, and gas supply had improved, things would be very, very much better.
Please.
I'm from Sikkim. My question is regarding the 1200 megawatt Tista Hydel project in North Sikkim, in Chungthang. There are fears that Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy is also involved in that project, and he's under arrest. And secondly, after last year's earthquake and the recent earthquake, the landslides and the flood and flash floods in the area, what is the status of this project and when will it be commissioned?
The last year's earthquake definitely affected the project, so it has suffered a setback for almost a year. So against the original commissioning dates, you could assume that it will be delayed by 1 year. The central agencies which have financed this project, they have got together all the stakeholders regularly for the last several months. We've tried to see that the project implementation picks up and we are able to save some of the lost time. So I would believe that as an outer limit, the delay in the project will be about a year.
Sir, I am from Jaipur. Recently the cabinet has approved the restructuring of the...
Where?
Jaipur, Rajasthan. Yeah. Recently the cabinet has approved the restructuring of the state electricity board's debt. So this is just a short-term solution. Do you have any plan of a long-term reduction of the debt burden?
Yes, this is, why do you see it as a short-term solution? This is a solution which is giving a short-term breather to the distribution companies to set their house in order, to improve their performance, to bring their losses down, to ensure that tariffs are rationalized. All this is long-term. This is not short-term. What is being done here is to provide a medium-term or a short-term mechanism where they can restructure their loans, reduce some of the liabilities that they have on them, which probably they cannot immediately discharge, and give them the space to take all these actions. Once these actions are taken, these actions will be there forever. It clearly says that steps like bringing down the losses, ensuring that all the subsidies are recovered, ensuring that government departments' dues are paid, ensuring that tariff petitions are filed, etc. It's completely long term. It is year after year. It is not short term.
This is Tilakraj Roland from Yog Darpan, Delhi. With the increase of more and more power demand, we are putting more and more pressure on thermal. And with the thermal, there are two things. One, fuel, and second, with the burning of more fuel, the pollution is the more power. Why not we going to for a solar panel system that will हमारी जो फ्यूल के ऊपर जो हमारी जो डिपेंडेबिलिटी है वो घटेगी, दूसरा हमारा पॉल्यूशन जो है उसको भी हम कंट्रोल कर पाएंगे.
You know, we have a big plan for going for alternative energy sources. That's why I was telling that, you know, the Coal India and others, that in after 50 years we may not need your coal at all in view of the alternative energy which is available to you. So that's an ideal way of going around, and you know, where there is no pollution, and you know, ultimately these are all the areas, you know, where we need to go further and augment it in a big way. So the idea is ideal, but you know, we need to work on that. And in fact, you know, even the energy which is produced by the alternative resources like the solar, wind energy, and many things, and you know, they have taken it in a big way. It has caught up the imagination of the power producers, and ultimately, you know, even our Power Grid Corporation, they are accommodating the transmission of that power, and you know, and also the fuel. You know, in fact, the tariff is also worked out in such a way that, you know, it will become definitely economical for the power producer to give the power to the transmission grid. Yeah, it is being done.
Yes, please.
Mr. Moily, in your opening remarks, you referred to the process of islanding, especially in connection with the power grid failure that we had recently. And what is the process actually the ministry is contemplating about? And do you have a time frame?
This is a process which we have just now started. In fact, Delhi has gone about it very seriously. And ultimately, we need to go in for the islanding because in an important essential sectors, we need to provide that power and consistent power, the certainty of power. We need to go in for that. And the idea that, even the rural sector, ultimately they must have the exclusive transmission lines so that, they are reassured of the power. So this is islanding is an important process which we are seriously working on that. I think our big plan will be there, a short while.
Sir, here, I want to continue with the question of islanding. In 1994, when we had a major grid failure because of just some few dew drops, then also we talked about islanding. Now it's almost, what, 30 years, 20 years, and we're still talking about whether we can do islanding or not. And this is one issue that seems to be bogging the power sector in a big way. This one. Second is, today, what is the contribution of power sector in pulling down the economic growth? There are credible studies which say that because of non-availability of power, we are not able to achieve double-digit economic growth. And every year you lose economic growth of about 2 to 2.4%. And so how do we address this issue? So this is one major thing. And third is, sir, if there is a...
I think you have put 3 questions. I think the third you have not completed, but I could guess that what you want to say. As I already told you that what the GDP growth power sector should grow, commensurate with that. I have already said that. And 9% growth is possible because we can confidently say today that in the 12th 5-year plan we will definitely back up that. The power growth will trigger off the GDP growth. That's what I am telling you, 9%. And if you can push up the power growth to 9%, 10% double-digit GDP is quite possible. But now, of course, it is said that, this is not available, fuel is not available, but ultimately, we can line up everything. And I think we are the third largest reservoir of coal. Not that, coal is not available. We need to deploy, that's why, we are deploying a lot of latest technology, the innovations, coal blocks are being given, and ultimately it is only a question of exploiting the coal which is already available. Of course, while sustaining the environment and other issues, forest issues, but it is quite possible. Fuel is just available, and we are also going for other fuel sources. So, as far as the islanding is concerned, yes, the islanding is concerned, our grid system should also be perfect. It cannot be done overnight. Now we can very confidently say that our grid system has developed in such a way, mature enough to take on the load of this islanding. That's why the mere technology is not enough. I'm just telling you, mere giving a slogan is not enough. That has to be coupled with the perfect functioning of the grid system in the country. And we are really linking up the southern grid into the national grid by the first quarter of 2014. That's how, the islanding means grid system should work perfectly well. And now I can say that, with the kind of technology which is available, with the kind of a grid system which has evolved itself into that kind of a maturity, the islanding will become a reality. That is why we are confident.
Yes, please. The back.
So, at the cost of being repetitive, the crux of the whole issue in the power sector is right now the fuel supply, either it is coal or gas, and that is hampering the growth of the entire power sector. My question here is that, the two ministries, basically the coal ministry and the power ministry has been, involved in exchange of letter that FSAs are not being signed, PPAs has to be signed, but somebody has to blink first. Coal secretary or coal ministry says that without PPA we can't sign FSA. Power Secretary says that PPA can be invoked, that clause can be invoked while the coal delivery starts. So the thing is that what Power Secretary or the Power Ministry is saying, it's basically opening up the Pandora's box of problems that whether without FSAs being signed, without PPAs being signed, FSA can be signed, and later on it can create a lot of problems. So what is the basic solution? Because of this exchange of letters and communications, the basic thing of signing the FSAs or linkage or block allocations are not happening. So what is the final ultimate solution? Because the MOUs, all the MOUs are going to come to an end by December this year. So after that, is there any roadmap that has been thought about, or what is the roadmap for fuel security?
One thing I can tell you that of course, maybe at the cost of repetition, as your question is, that as far as the 12th five-year plan is concerned, the fuel has been already linked up. We have no problem whatsoever. As you have already seen, even in the current financial year is concerned, in fact it is 96%. We could meet our demand. It is more than the last year. Not as if, yes, FSA and as also the MO is concerned, yes, we are already, it is not a mere correspondence. We have series of meetings. In fact, I had very serious meeting with both the coal minister and also with the coal secretary other day, and we sorted out many things. Now, we are taking up all those things, and I don't think, that kind of a bottleneck of non-signing of the FSA will not be any longer a bottleneck to ensure that, coal supply or the fuel supply will be there. So this is it's an old issue, this is being talked about. Yes.
Just one, let me respond to that. Earlier Babu used to write and Babu used to read. Now Babu writes and nation reads. That's what has happened. So anyway, we keep writing letters. This particular thing that you're talking about, FSA and PPA, this has been sorted out with the coal ministry. What we have been saying, what they have agreed to now is that FSA should be signed irrespective of whether there is a PPA or not, but coal supply will be triggered when the PPA is shown. So that is not an issue any longer. FSAs will get signed, and to actually get coal supply, the chap will have to produce a PPA. So that issue, the one that you referred to, that remains settled now. There are enough accountants in the government to look after all this. Don't worry about it. Let FSAs be signed. All this will be accounted for. Don't worry. No, I only said accountant. I didn't say CH. I said accountant.
Sir, this is a question regarding the disinvestment. We are hearing from disinvestment department that several power sector companies are also lined up for disinvestment in current financial year. Can you give some clarity which all these companies are and what is the proposal and how much share the company is willing, whether the company will also issue fresh equity or only government share will be on offer?
It is on way, we are on track as far as the disinvestment.
Some company names were mentioned, Power Grid and NTPC, disinvestment secretary has given these names.
Yeah, it is on the way now. The cabinet note is being prepared as far as the NTPC disinvestment is concerned.
I cannot talk about other companies. I'm sure they have a larger agenda. I don't know about that. NTPC, there is a proposal which will be taken up before the cabinet for disinvestment of 9.5%. Pardon? When the timing is right.
I think we have already gone on record saying that the cabinet note is already getting ready and is on the way. What does it mean? That means our intention is very clear. Don't suspect on intentions.
No, not that. You see, NTPC chairman will be saying timing may not be right now, at this stage. So we look at the right timing.
Sir, at the time, when we have already seen how some of our public sector companies have performed, be it Air India and others,
Sir, why is it so that since you're heading the ministry, I'm talking about the power sector PSUs, why are they at a disadvantage? A case in point being NTPC, well, the blocks were taken away from them, they are yet to be returned, and so on and so forth. A case in point also being NHPC, where DPR is being prepared and part of NHPC projects being given away. Of course, there have been a CAG report as well where they have made certain mention of the fact. So you being at the helm of affairs here, how do you intend to get this anomaly right?
No, there are, to be very frank with you, between the coal ministry and our ministry is concerned, and so far as the deallocation, allocation, there are no issues, no more. I don't think there is any more issue.
What is the status of those blocks?
No, status, is being allocated back again to the NTPC.
So they have been,
Yeah. It is a matter of process, that's all. And, we'll move to the corporate affairs.
With that, friends, we will end the session on the Ministry of Power and begin the session on the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Honorable Minister will make his opening remarks, after which we will have the floor for questions. Let's, we are on a tight schedule, so we will immediately begin. Friends, as we are on a very tight schedule, I'd request you to please settle down. Honorable Minister will make his opening remarks, and then this will be followed by an interaction.
Friends, shall we move on to the corporate sector? Yeah. So I am very happy that we are meeting today in a scenario which is growth driven with a realistic optimism, indicating that an ever improving economic situation. Measures recently announced to accelerate the pace of reforms has not only sent a positive signal to the corporate sector, but have augured well in the economic as a whole, and I am glad that these measures have been wholeheartedly welcomed by different shades of objective opinions. That these announced measures are not passing phenomenon is buttressed by the fact that a single day, that is on 4th October, the inflow of FII was $0.8 billion US. What is more, the movement of Nifty in the recent past has been of the order of 25%, which is the highest in the corresponding period among all the major exchanges like Nasdaq 21% and the German exchange 20%. Ministry of Corporate Affairs is tasked with the responsibility of not only regulating and overseeing the governance of companies, but indirectly our responsibility also extends to providing a suitable legal framework which allows business to play a role in the development by a country with of course, involvement and policy inputs from a number of ministries and agencies. The corporate sector continues to grow at a steady rate. At present, the number of companies incorporated is nearing 1 million mark. There is more to this figure. 2 lakh companies have been added in the last 2 years alone. This shows a high degree of corporatization of business in the country and promises ever-increasing role of corporates in the overall Indian growth story. While I will be happy to answer your questions pertaining to the corporate sector, by way of introduction, I will very briefly highlight some of the important features in the recent past. Cabinet has approved a number of amendments to the Companies Bill, introduced last year largely on the basis of the report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance. The amendments seek to fine-tune the provisions of the bill to make them more effective and fine-tune the provisions of the bill to make them more effective and serve the needs of the growth of the corporate sector. I do not propose to go into the details of specific amendment as they are best discussed in the Parliament during the winter session. I would, however, like to dispel an impression that one of the amendments makes the requirement to spend 2% of the average net profits of the last 3 years by the prescribed class of companies from non-mandatory to mandatory. I would like to clarify that in the Companies Bill 2011 as introduced, the stipulation is that the select class of companies, inverted commas, shall endeavor to ensure expenditure as above on the CSR. If they fail to do so, the director's reports will explain the reasons for not being able to achieve the requisite target. All that the amendments propose to do is to remove the words endeavor to from the earlier formulation. That means to say there is no much difference. In other words, if a company fails to ensure achievement of the target, it is required to explain the reasons in its report as before, and hence there is no material change in the situation as far as its mandatory nature or enforceability is concerned. I sincerely hope that if legislative business proceeds smoothly in the winter session, the bill will receive the approval of both the houses in that session itself. Cabinet has recently approved a number of amendments in the Competition Act, which not only seek to make functioning of the Competition Commission of India more effective in the light of experience gained in the working, but it also proposes a very healthy relation between the Competition Commission and other sectoral regulators. Sectoral regulators will be required to compulsorily refer issues concerning competition which arises within their jurisdiction to the Commission with a corresponding responsibility on the Competition Commission to refer any issue relevant to the jurisdiction of a sectoral regulator to that, because there should not be any friction or conflict between one regulator and the Competition Commission. The amendment also seeks to enable laying down different thresholds for different classes of enterprise to attract the jurisdiction of the Competition Commission in matters of acquisitions and mergers, etc. I must mention here that a committee of eminent business personalities under the chairmanship of Sri Adi Godrej has recommended adoption of 17 guiding principles to underpin the system of corporate governance in the country. I am happy to inform you that the SEBI is actively contemplating making these principles as part of its listing agreements. When we on our part are examining as to how these principles can form part of the policy guidelines for corporate governance. We are also hopeful of obtaining the endorsement of the Cabinet to the National Policy on Competition, applicable to the Centre and States to serve as a forward linkage and extension of Competition Act. We have taken serious note of the reported procedural bottlenecks, jurisdictional overlaps, and systematic inertia coming in the way of ease of doing business. Accordingly, a committee under the chairmanship of Sri M. Damodaran, former chairman SEBI, with the very eminent members, has been appointed to address the issue in a larger perspective and to suggest measures to be taken by different ministries and agencies to provide friendly environment for initiating and smooth conduct of business by entities both from this country and abroad. A committee constituted by the ministry has prepared an annual business responsibility framework for the sustainability framework, which has been shared with various stakeholders. I am glad to intimate that SEBI has already adopted this framework, got top 100 listed companies. The ministry is examining opinion of stakeholders on this framework and will soon take a decision regarding implementing the same for specified class of companies. As I mentioned, our primary responsibility is administration of the Companies Act, enforcement of its provisions, and corporate regulation generally. In this sphere, keeping a record of filing required under the law by the companies and making such stored information easily accessible to public and to regulators alike is the sine qua non on our existence. As most of you must be aware, the Comprehensive Interactive Portal, MCA 21, has made filing and retrieval of information and collation of data a very easy task. In fact, this arrangement compares most favorably with the best in the world. It is the pioneering and functional portal amongst all organizations of Government of India. MCA 21 will undergo further upgradation from January 2013 in its next 8.5 years cycle, for which Infosys has been chosen as a service provider following a very comprehensive technical and financial competition process. The portal will have still